This meeting of the Essex County Board of Chosen Freeholders is hereby called to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Freeholder Cooper.
Here.
Freeholder Graham.
Here.
Freeholder Johnson.
Here.
Freeholder Luciano, absent. Freeholder Mercado.
Here.
Freeholder Pomares.
Here.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Here.
Freeholder Siebel.
Here.
Freeholder President Gill.
Here. Please stand for the salute to the flag. I'm going to ask Freeholder Mercado to please lead us in the salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I ask that we please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. I have before me certification from the clerk that this meeting is in compliance with the Open Public Meeting Act. Madam Clerk, are there any transcripts to be approved?
Mr. President, there are two. There are conference boards meeting, one August 7, 2019, and August 21st, 2019.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Freeholders, do you have any questions or comments? Do I have a motion and a second to approve the transcripts? Moved by Vice President Richardson, second by Freeholder Cooper. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano, absent. Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Madam Clerk, are there any topics of discussion?
Mr. President, there are none.
Okay, let's move to the public comment session. Tonight's meeting is a combined conference board meeting. We will vote on every item on the agenda. If there's any member of the public who would like to comment on any issue, whether or not it's on the agenda, you will have an opportunity to speak. Please come to the microphone, state your name and affiliation for the record, and you will have 3 minutes to speak.
Good evening. My name is Cat Lady from New Jersey, also Mom Liao, also Charlotte Gallup from Irvington. And the reason why I'm here tonight is you notice I have my glasses on for the community cats. I only want treats from everybody, no tricks tonight. And at the same token, what I wanted to do is present this shark because my guys, you know, my cats all set up all the fishes to choose to give to the freeholders that are very astute on our problems. The shark represents a peaceful predator. I know that they showed the music, dun, 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 and everybody fears the shark, but the shark is not. A shark actually is a symbol of strength, and it also is for opportunities and challenges. And each one of you have actually been the shark for our community cats because you are looking into the opportunities and challenges that we have to face for them. And at the same token, it forges ahead for friendships that we should be reaching to a peaceful method. So I want to present this to President Brendan W. Gill, but it represents every one of you due to the fact you are trying to make a change for all the community cats that nobody has ever done before. You're putting Essex County first, and you're putting the community cats, their benefit, to the benefits of all the residents and the quality life of the community cats and kittens. I applaud you, I want to thank you, and so do the community cats. So you sharks, be there, and also, meow, meow. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Holly Gauthier, co-chair of the Voting Rights Committee of South Orange, Soma Action, New Jersey. First, I want to thank President Gill for joining many of us last Tuesday when there was a group of us in Newark supporting the secure voter election efforts. And we appreciate your comments and know that, that perhaps many of you were also there in spirit, although he certainly did not speak for anyone but himself. I also want to say thank you for to the extent that you might have been involved in, my co-chair and I have been invited to attend the Essex County Administration Expo on voting machines, which will take place this Monday. We had attended one last March, and it was very interesting, where we learned a lot about the different kinds of voting machines, particularly, in my view, the difference between something called a ballot marking device, which was used in Mississippi, that infamous election primary that they had recently, as well as a hand-marked paper ballot, which, of course, you know is the most secure type of vote that could possibly be cast. I think this is a time to point out that you as freeholders, as well as the administration, has a fabulous, wonderful opportunity to be a leader here in New Jersey and frankly here in the United States. Because by adopting, as I hope you will in the near future, the hand-marked paper ballots with precinct-based optical scanners, you will take a stand, you will take a public stand saying that Essex County is a leader in making sure that absolutely every vote is counted properly, that a voter gets to mark the ballot in the way that he or she expected to do so, and if there is a question, there is a reliable way to look and check and make sure that the votes are properly counted. When I do go to the expo next week, I will be asking ES&S, who are the vendors for that particular machine, a couple of questions. They have indicated that the problem with that particular machine was due to a calibration. Well, one of the things that we know about those ballot marking device machines is that they require a lot of calibration. They are much more sensitive than our telephones.
30 seconds.
They require regular being looked at, updated, and even if you're not doing anything untoward that you don't want to do or that's wrong, things happen. I don't know how many times you've had to reboot your phone. I have several times. This is not a reliable way to conduct an election. That's proprietary information that these vendors have. There's no way that an Essex County administrator could look at it to make sure that it's correct. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is David Harris. I'm from South Orange. I'm co-chair of the Voter Rights Committee for Soma Action, along with my colleague from whom you just heard. I'd like to take this opportunity first to review some of the things I think I said months ago, because I know that the time for your decision on the voting machines purchase is coming up. It's coming up soon. So I wanted to talk about hand-marked paper ballots because we visited the head of the New York Election Commission for the state. And one of the things in New York, because they didn't buy the machines we have now, they have hand-marked paper ballots. And they have regulations. They have regulations that provide that for every ballot marking machine, you need one for every 350 voters. For every optical scanner that is used with the hand-marked paper ballots, you need one for every 4,000 voters. So the money you save is because of efficiency and simplicity. Also, with the hand-marked paper ballots, they need one booth for every 250 voters, because you can have multiple voters filling out their ballots at the same time. And when it comes time to put them in the scanner, it takes 10 seconds. And the scanners, if you didn't vote or you voted for too many people, the scanner rejects the ballot and tells you what mistake you made so that you get a chance to correct it rather than make a mistake and vote. And as Holly mentioned, of course you can count them in a close election. The other thing is, excuse me, Essex County, I believe, is in a unique position to lead on this issue. I think the fact that President Gill has made his position known and others of you are considering your positions. If you coalesce around President
30
Gill
seconds.
and make it clear that taking a realistic look at the available options and taking into consideration the cost and simplicity, you can help other counties make the kind of decision that will benefit the voters in New Jersey and secure our elections. Thank you.
My name is Eloise McDaniel, and I am from Irvington. And I spoke at the last Freeholders meeting that was held in Irvington. And I mentioned some of the problems that we are facing in Irvington. And we have had a problem with our last municipal election, and it was a big problem. And we even took the township to court, but due to political involvement, nothing was done about it. But unfair voting went on in Irvington with the last municipal election. Now, the other thing that we are very concerned about is about the police department getting involved in using their sticker, and I think I gave it to you the last time at the Irvington meeting, campaign issues. And the police department received federal funds, and this is illegal. And I was asked to you to please look into it, and I haven't received a response from that yet. And the other thing is that in Irvington, when we go to our council meetings, we are some citizens who come up and speak out or intimidated. And your county freeholder person that's sitting right over here at our last who lives in Irvington, Graham, Freeholder Graham, I was up speaking, and when I exercising my legal rights as a citizen, and she was over making eyes and faces at me. That's not right, and that should not be allowed, but this is what is going on there. And I called the cops that was standing there in the chambers, and I told him, and I said, now this has got to stop. And he went over to her. And so a lot of things are going on in Irvington when they're blocking people.
30 seconds.
Okay, when they are blocking citizens from trying to come in to speak also at the council meetings. We need help, and you being the county freeholders, we want you to look into these issues.
Good evening. My name is Pamela McElvin with the Palm Street Block Association, again here in reference to advocating for Bellswood Park. I have some
Please speak into the mic.
photos I would like for you guys to see. From my understanding, I mean, it's coming along. It really is. I was out there today all day until like about 12:30, the cleaning and so forth. Now, the seniors is coming into the building, but I have a problem with Krill. From what I gather, they have a contract with the county. I came in there last Thursday, signed myself up, you know, as a senior, to be a part of the program to get a lunch. So, and this is my first time ever getting a lunch. This is what they serving them, and I find it to be offensive, disrespectful to our seniors. It's box lunch, but it's little containers. The summer kids' summer lunch was better than this. I wouldn't serve this to anyone. These are little containers where they open up maybe one can of tuna fish and just stuffed it in the cup, a little thing of macaroni, salad, green beans, and the lady said, oh, we got a bonus today. We got a container of juice. Speaking to her, the lady from Krill, I said, but what else do you guys do? She said, well, up there. I said, up there, where is up there? Where she was speaking about Verona, the things and the activities that they do. I said, well, why can't we have that here? Okay, I'm not going to advocate. I, came back and forth, and I wanted this building open. Okay, but to have, they was getting hot meals at once upon a time. They passed inspection as far as the kitchen. They just waiting for the health department to come back out, but they were serving everything on steamers. But to have them to go from a hot meal to something like this is disrespectful to our seniors. It really is. The attitude, speaking to them, is just the feedback period that I'm getting for individual, and this was my first time. So this should not be served to our seniors. I don't care where they at, who they are, whether she like coming down there or she don't like coming down there, whatever.
30 seconds.
I don't know. But there's no collaboration with the two entities that's in there. So I feel like I'm fighting up against a wall because they don't want to talk. They don't want to reach out. They don't want to advertise. They don't want people to know what's going on. I don't understand it. But I refuse to let that building close down because this is unacceptable. It truly is unacceptable. Unacceptable for anybody to have to go from a hot meal baked chicken to a cup.
Time's up.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Mr. President. I'm sorry. For the record, I didn't understand the organization you were referring to.
I'm with the Palm Street Block Association.
No, the one you were referencing.
Krill?
Yeah, what's the acronym? Or what's the full name?
It's Krill. They serve hot meals. They work with the senior services. They deliver the lunches to the seniors at Vailsboro Park.
Okay.
And they went from a hot meal to, if you want to pass these out.
I don't know.
This is, I find to be very offensive to our seniors.
Vice President Richardson?
Through you, Mr. President, to the administration. So where else does this company work at? Is it just in Vailsburg and in Verona?
Well, from what I gathered.
No. This is for the administration.
They have, Mr. Vice President, they have a contract to provide food services to all of our senior locations.
So my question to you, to the administration is, I want to know, do they serve the same thing on the same day to every location? So when the seniors in Vailsburg Park got the tuna fish or whatever it was, did the other locations that they service get the same thing? That's my question.
I don't have the answer for you, Mr. President, but I will get that for you.
Thank you so much.
And Donagora, 12 Bowman Place in Irvington. The last time I was here, I complained about an issue I had with a police officer entering a town meeting. And I didn't get any response from the county when the Freeholders meeting was held in Irvington. I'm just going to refresh your memory that this happened on July 8th when I was attending a director's meeting, and the police officer asked me what meeting I'm going to when there was only one meeting, and I said behind the door. And he blocked the door from having me enter and started asking me questions like, have you seen me before? That's why I'm asking you this question. He asked me question as, then he made comments of make sure he turn off his cell phone, don't let him in, went inside, and the sergeant came out, and everybody seemed to have an alibi. The sergeant, the director of police, the police officer, everybody has a different answer. Yeah, a couple days ago at the director's meeting, I told the director of police that I wanted to get an answer from him, a live answer. He, in turn, well, this person, Victor here, the council president, turned to the business manager and had the business manager answer instead of the police director. That's his department. So the director, Bowers, did not answer. But after the meeting, he came down to my seat and he asked me if I thought I was being intimidated. I said yes. And when I told him about the cell phone should be turned off and the other issue in terms of letting him mention what meeting he was going to, he said the police officer did not say that. I said, well, look, police officer. I expect them not, I don't expect the police officer to admit he said that. Police officers do lie. They're human beings too, right? So it went on further. He said, well, what about if you're making that up? And I looked at him, I said, you really think I'm going to make this up and come to the meeting since July 2nd, just lying? So, and then other police officer came over there, he started smiling. So to them, I guess it's a joke, you know? And the same guy here, Vic, he touched Bowers when I came up to the mic to speak. I don't know what that meant. He alone can say. I'm not going to try to guess. Here's my concern. Every time I go to a meeting, we pledge and we said one nation, one God, and justice for all. But I don't see justice.
30 seconds.
And I don't see we being treated as though we are one nation when a police officer is going to block the doorway for me going into a public meeting. I should be asked no question. That's violating my human rights. I'm a free man. I can walk on this land anytime. We all breathe the same air. There's no charge, there's no question for that. So I hope that I can get an answer from you and the county, and you can look into this, and we can take care of this issue. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Max Herman. I'm a professor of sociology at New Jersey City University. I'm also a Bloomfield resident. While I'm very happy about the new community center and the playground in Bloomfield, I'm wondering about how it's funded. And I certainly hope that it's not funded by using money from the contract with ICE for detaining people down at the jail. I'm continually coming to these meetings. I think this is my 4th or 5th meeting. I'm getting a little tired of coming here, but I'm going to keep coming and raising this issue as long as people...
Sir, I just wanted to be clear. Are you putting that as a question on the record about the funding of the playground?
Yes, I am putting
thank
that
you.
on the record. If any of that is paid for by money that's received from the contract with ICE, I'm assuming that some of it may be, but I don't know. Nonetheless, I also want to put it on the record that I am opposed to the continuance of this contract in which Essex County continues to get blood money from ICE. The people have been treated horribly there. The food has been horrible. People have been detained indefinitely, and ICE as itself as an organization has done some truly horrible things over the past several years. So I spoke to this before. As a Jew, I'm also upset with the idea. It goes against my spiritual feelings that we should not be oppressing the strangers in our midst, that we should be embracing the strangers in our midst. And furthermore, as a person who teaches a course on immigration and immigration policy, immigrants are absolutely vital to the sustenance of our economy and our society. I personally have depended on immigrants to help take care of my elderly uncle and my mother-in-law, and I think it's truly cruel the way that we are treating the undocumented immigrants today, and I think we need to make a statement against this and put a stop to this contract. Thank you.
My name is Jay Arena, and I'm a member of the Jobs and Equal Rights for All.
Mr. President, can we ask the public to conform to the comportment? There should be no clapping. There should be no, we have some rules of etiquette.
Well, it's good to hear your voice once. We want to hear your voice demanding the end of this contract. My name is Jay Arena, and I'm a member of the Jobs and Equal Rights for All campaign. And I am here to not only once again demand the end of this blood money contract with ICE that you have, but also for you to end, because you oversee this agency, for the end of the Essex County Sheriff's Office, led by Armando Fontour, to end their violation of my First Amendment democratic rights and that of the larger movement. This is not the result of a few bad apples, but a pattern activity by this office. And my question before you is, when is this body, President Gill and the rest of the freeholders, going to rein in the sheriff's office and end their violation of our democratic rights? Let me explain. Examples. February 2019, I attended the county address, the State of the County address, attempted to, held at the Donald Payne Senior Vocational School. I was blocked when I attempted to enter the building by a sheriff who was backed up by the sheriff, Armando Fontoura. I had called the county executive's office earlier in the day, and they had explained that this was open to the public, like it had been in the past, but I was denied, saying that I didn't have an invitation. Second, April 7th, 2019, the Cherry Blossom 10K run at the Branch Brook Park. I attended with my comrades in this movement to express our opposition to Mr. DiVincenzo's practice of this blood money contract. Immediately when we attempted to meet with the county executive, Fontoura, with his troops, pushed us into a pen, a protest pen. Then when myself and several others attempted to leave and walk in the park, just like other attendees, we were stopped by Sheriff Fontoura, who nearly ran us over in his SUV, and we have this on video. Then on Monday, August 26th, in the capacity as a reporter for the journal Mass Strike, I attempted to attend a press conference at the Leroy Smith Jr. so-called public safety building. When I got off the 14th floor, I was met by Under Sheriff, right here, John Goncalves, a good friend of Joe D. and the Fontoura, who told me, quote, Jay, you can't, I guess they get to know you.
30 seconds.
Jay, you can't attend the press conference. This has nothing to do with ICE. I explained I have a right as a reporter and the general public to attend, and I was escorted into the elevator and out the door. And then finally, so this is the repression coming from the state repressive forces, but it doesn't end there. Last week I attended Newark City Council to address the demand that the council come on board opposing it, and I also addressed the Liuna Labor International Union members who were in the chambers to put pressure on their president, Wayne Richardson, to stop attacking worker rights and to vote to end this contract. Afterwards, I went in the audience and attempted to speak to two members when I was accosted by this Liuna bureaucrat thug. And I want to pass this on to the
Sir, your time is up.
I'm going to call on you to call off your thugs, right? We want to end the repression that's coming from the sheriff's department, but also in these civil society organizations in the form of your labor union.
Okay.
So I want to pass this
Thank
on.
you.
I don't know if somebody could take that. So I hope you got my question. You did
We
get
did.
that question?
We got the
Great.
questions. Thank you.
Okay. And I'm looking for an answer. Maybe someone could address it now, like you addressed the other speakers. I'd appreciate it.
Brother Richardson?
Yeah, to you, Mr. President. Mr. Arena, like I addressed when you came to me after the meeting, after you had spoke at the meeting, and I explained to you then that those gentlemen, the women, men and women who were in the council chambers had nothing to do with my particular local unit. He doesn't work for me, he's not in my local, and I explained that to you, that he has nothing to do with me. So
Is he with
he's
the-
not
with the
my
Labor
union,
International?
he's not
Through you, Mr. President.
my person.
Through you, Mr. President, your public comment session is open. He's making a
Could I
statement,
pass
no
this
back
on?
and
Well, I
forth.
was trying to address the
And I spoke to you also. I said, you said they stopping you from speaking. And I asked you then, I said, did I stop you from speaking? I wasn't even in there whenever
They're
that
part of your
happened.
organization.
It has nothing to do with me.
The contract does, the blood money contract does.
Next speaker?
Hi. Hello. Hi, my name is Alejandro Jaramillo, and I am, as you know me by now, I am a former resident of Newark, a student of here of Newark. I represent the Cosecha movement here in Newark, and also I'm part of the movement in New Jersey. I was here a number of weeks ago, and I asked for two things. I asked for a letter to be sent to Senator Sweeney and Assembly Leader Coughlin, asking him to move the driver license bill. And I asked this body to show some solidarity and push those useless politicians. and that letter has not come through. That's the first thing. Second thing, the other day I was here and I asked for the names of the representatives here that support ending the ICE contract or oppose ending the ICE contract. And to this day, that letter has not come through. It seems here there is a lot of lack of accountability because we have been coming here for almost 2 years and we only see cold faces. Nothing happens and people are still suffering in that detention center. Recently, Jose Hernandez Velasquez, a 20-year-old Salvadorian who has lived in New Jersey since he was 1 year, ended up in ICE custody on order of deportation due to a series of low-level offense. There was an incident at the facility, right, between some of the detainees and the guards. He was detained and then he was taken to a bathroom and he was brutally beaten that he has to be taken to the hospital. And the doctor at the hospital say that he had been assaulted and he has been badly hurt in his genitals. So also that is considered sexual assault. So when this is going to stop? When? You look at me and you are not doing nothing. When are you going to stop? When are you going to take the courage to say to Jody, we have enough of this. We stand with our community. But no, here you are standing with ICE. And will it take for us to call you Trump supporters? Yeah, I think so. Right? Because whatever you are doing here is not supporting the immigrant community here in Newark. Right? You are supporting ICE. You are supporting breaking up families. You are supporting jailing people. You are supporting terrible conditions in the concentration camp. And not only you don't do nothing, but you don't respond. You don't have the courage to say, I vote against. And I'm telling you, we are going to have memory. And you are not going to be elected if you don't break that contract soon.
Time's up.
Close the ICE concentration camp now. Let the immigrants go free. ICE out of excess.
Thank you.
ICE out of excess.
Thank you.
ICE out of excess.
Listen, we ask, please respect, we have other speakers. Please respect the other people who would like to speak.
Through you, Mr. President, may I make a point of policy here? There are no signs allowed. So, through you, Mr. President, I just want to make that point of policy.
Thank you.
Good evening, Freeholders. My name is Whitney Strube. I live in Newark. I'm the co-chair of the North Jersey Democratic Socialists of America, and I'm here in solidarity with my friends and comrades in Cosecha as well. I want to pick up where Alejandro left off because I was also going to speak about Jose Hernandez Velasquez. You may recall me speaking to you about an inmate who was sexually assaulted violently by corrections officers while in ICE custody. That was only 2 Freeholders meetings ago. I'm back to again speak of a very similar situation. Alejandro laid out the details. I want to read for the record a direct quote from Matt Katz's article in Gothamist that exposed this. Alejandro mentioned that Jose was abused. To be specific, I quote, he was punched about 30 times, kneed, hit with a broomstick, and threatened with a pellet gun. His genitals were stepped on by an officer, which constitutes sexual assault. At the hospital, where he was sent afterwards because of the violence of it, a doctor expressed, quote, clinical concern for testicular injury, after which he was put in solitary confinement on a urine-soaked mattress for 5 days. Prosecutors ignored the case until Matt Katz reported on it, at which point they opened an investigation. I think this says a lot about the conditions that we already know are terrible because 2 Freeholders meetings ago, I read his article about Farouk Karamu, sexually assaulted and deported to Ghana. Earlier this year, we spoke about Yuri McCoy, given an invasive body cavity search and then sent to the hospital for more invasive work over something that did not exist. Of course, we have the Department of Homeland Security report that we've covered in great detail. And I guess my question is, when does it end? I mean, when does this mountain of evidence need to hit some critical mass to do something about it? Because I do think an objective observer would agree right now that something is deeply wrong with this status quo. And I do want to say a quick word about some of my friends and comrades with Cosecha, with Pax Christi, with Wind of the Spirit, and other immigrant rights organizations. They can't be with us tonight because they are at the detention center serenading for Jose. And getting a live stream tweet from Kathy O'Leary from Pax Christi, she said one of the speakers, this was about 17 minutes ago, was a woman named Gabby whose husband is currently inside the Essex County Jail.
30 seconds.
And she is also calling for all detention centers to be closed. Even people who are affected by this recognize that this system needs to end. And with the seconds I have, I do want to ask a formal question, which is that have there been discussions, either formal or informal, among the freeholders or with the administration about estimating the legal liability costs of those various inmates and detainees who have been abused? Is there a formal estimate? Is there a figure that you have that this is going to cost the county when they have their day in court for the violence they've suffered? So I would like a written response to that. And I haven't received a written response to my last several set of questions, by the way. Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Katie Singer. I live in Millburn, New Jersey, and I teach at Rutgers, Newark. And as my colleague just announced tonight, the National Day Labor Organizing Network's holding a Serenata protest at Essex Detention Center. This is yet another group in this large umbrella now that is tired of the immigrant detainee situation as it stands. Tired of the detention centers being documented centers of abuse, sickness, and depression. Tired of the detention industrial complex. Tired of hearing stories of citizens unlawfully detained, parents picked up on their way to meet their children, the growing separation of families. Tired of the raids that ICE claims are not raids, even as they are now in the midst of setting up virtual reality spaces, quote, tactical training centers. According to a recent report, a facility in LA is now going to be used to train ICE special response teams, as well as agents from ICE's two main components, which are ICE Homeland Security investigations and ICE enforcement and removal operations. The monster is growing. We're tired of hearing how the ICE contracts are legal as an argument for their validity. We are tired of naming all the other actions throughout our country's history that have been legal and are now looked back upon as reprehensible. We're tired of explaining to people how Essex County makes money off the detention of human beings because the reality of what is happening in Newark and throughout this country is so inaccessible to the general public. We're tired of spending our evenings after a long day coming to stand, I'm speaking right now, before you and plead with you to put a stop to an action that is incentivizing the capture of human beings, perpetuating the discrimination against immigrants, and encouraging the whitewashing of criminal behavior by staff and administrators of these detention centers. We're tired of the general silence, although we are gaining some hope in the comments of President Gill. You all are probably tired, too, of all sorts of things. We'd like you to be tired of the role you continue to play in this litany of unethical events. We want you to be so tired of it that you vote to cancel this contract with ICE. Maybe then we could all get some rest. And so I have questions. I want to know the stance of each freeholder on the ICE contract. I do not know why I cannot find this out. I have asked this before. I would also like to know if there is a written rule regarding clapping and making noise in the freeholders' meetings. Thank you.
Hi, Link Bella Hughes, 25 Vaughan Drive. Pronouns are they, their, theirs, and them. This is a response The second part, from a letter I received back in July, and I'm going to start with a question from that. Does each currently detained person have housing that awaits them once the contract is terminated? If they don't, they need housing when liberation from ICE's contract is won. An amendment to the ICE contract to ensure housing needs are met upon release is basic humanly action. It flows from the principle that all people's needs ought to be met because we are alive in the world and thus have common survival needs. It's a socialist principle, and I know there isn't a majority of socialists on the board, or maybe not any, but it's something that we need to think about in terms of how we live our lives humanly. The letter that I did receive says that a housing amendment is not required because, quote, stakeholders, which wasn't clarified, which probably means legal aid folks, are going to enhance the assistance provided to former detainees of the Essex County Correctional Facility after they have been released, unquote. I'm really happy that the language former detainee was used because it shows that you're imagining what's materially necessary for post-prison life, so thank you for that. But there also seems to be two problematic assumptions in what you shared. First, universal legal representation is going to include the assistance of locating and paying for housing for newly freed folks in need of such upon release. And second, that enough money, which is $750,000, has already been distributed for universal legal representation to provide for post-prison housing costs. Now, with one, if I'm understanding what's being shared about universal legal representation, if program is the right word here, it doesn't include any type of housing assistance at all within the objective that the freeholders and the legal aid folks have agreed to several meetings ago. With the second assumption, since $750,000 may not be enough for meaningful and effective legal aid that meets the need of each detainee, who will then access that legal assistance. I mean, come on, let me finish. Can we pause this for a moment? Can you pause that for 1 second? Or not? I mean, that's incredibly rude. Don't talk while I'm talking.
It's okay, I can talk.
No. Okay, well then you have a decorum rule which was just practiced upon us.
Sir, finish.
So
Sir,
I'm also not a sir, right? So please don't call me
finish
that.
your comments.
All right,
Please.
so the second assumption is that you think that $750,000 is going to be enough to enhance the assistance of the legal aid that you've already dispensed.
Right.
So, just a real sort of question here would be like, how in this world do you think that's enough money to cover the housing costs of people who are going to be newly freed?
30 seconds.
So what this gets to is sort of a discussion amongst the abolitionists as to whether or not the honesty practices that you're sharing with us, particularly President Gill, but anybody else who's expressed herself, like I know Wayne Richardson, you said that you're against the contract being terminated. Are you practicing political honesty and just saying what you want to say so that you can get reelected? Or are you practicing sincere honesty, like you really care about what you're saying, you want to construct a world without immigrant prisons? Or, because it's certainly not radical honesty, I don't think that you're saying what you really think and feel without any concern for the caringness or the impact of what you're saying. So my three questions are this, and I'm sorry for going over time, but I also was interrupted. So one, does each currently detained person have housing awaiting them once the contract is fully terminated? Two, are legal aid organizations going to be helping currently detained people get housing and other needs met once freed, like full citizenship in this country, if they want to stay? And third, what in detail is the freeholders' plan for terminating the ICE contract from implementing the two reforms to when the last detained person becomes fully free outside of your cages?
Adam Kramer, Republican nominee for Freeholder. I'm coming once again to respectfully request a civil debate for the office of Freeholder. There has not been a debate, a formal debate, public debate for the office of Freeholder in many years. I'm willing to concede that this is an overwhelmingly Democratic county, and as a Republican, my chances of winning are small, very, very small. But I'm not willing to concede that there should be a coronation of Democrats into this office. I think that regardless of what the presumed political outcome is, the process requires a civil debate. As I campaign, too many people, instead of saying, oh, I'm voting for Gramani Graham, oh, I'll vote for you, Mr. Kramer, will say, what's a freeholder? And that scares me. And part of the reason they say that is we're not really educating the populace as to what you as freeholders do. And I think a civil debate would be an opportunity for that to happen and reduce the number of people who find themselves in the situation of saying, what's a freeholder. So I really hope that we can change history in this county and have a civil debate. To my friends and activists who are here in sincerity advocating for human rights, I agree, documented or undocumented, your humanity has to be respected. However, I also have to think that we have to respect that there are alternative views on this. First of all, if the county was to end the contract tomorrow, our immigrants would leave Essex County and go to perhaps Louisiana, Colorado, North Dakota, far from where there are many good immigration attorneys, further from their families, and it would not serve them well. Second, saying that we are a nation of laws, and laws, including immigration, have to be enforced is not xenophobic, immoral, or racist. We're a nation state. We're a nation of laws. All laws, including immigration, have to be enforced. And also, the reality is there are lots of people who violate our immigration laws and will have an extremely de minimis chance of showing up for the adjudication of their immigration status. So holding them in detention is a legitimate and lawful and moral thing to do. As a Jew, I really object to my county jail being called a concentration camp. It's offensive. It's filled with good men and women who will stand in harm's way to stop prison violence. So I respectfully ask those who oppose me to oppose me, but do so respectfully and with decorum. Thank you.
I'm going to again ask that each person's right to be heard be respected, not interrupted, not shouted over. This is public comment and a public meeting, and each individual has a right to speak and a right to their time without it being interrupted. So I'm going to ask again to please respect the individual speaker's time.
Good evening. My name is Yael Weber. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I'm a resident of Essex County, and I'm here once again to protest the ICE contract. I do want to start by seconding Alejandro's call for a letter to Senate President Sweeney and Assembly Speaker Coughlin, asking them to move on the driver's license bill that there is no reason we haven't passed yet other than simple political cowardice. It is leaving immigrant communities in fear for political benefit. For our politicians. I also do need to take issue with the idea that it's offensive to call an institution a concentration camp when it is staffed by good men and women. I do want to point out that most Nazis were good men and women doing their jobs. They were following orders, they were doing what they were told, they were protecting people from the menace of Jews taking over society, from the menace of the gypsies. They were good people, and that to say that the way that we are treating people is wrong does not mean that those who are doing their jobs are inherently evil people who are out to hurt immigrants, but they are being put in a position where they are part of a system that is designed to do exactly that. And I got confused about what I want to say, but please end the ICE contract. Thank you.
Matt Dragon, I live in West Orange. I'm here again to speak about the need for civilian oversight of the jail. Since the last meeting, there's been yet another report of officers assaulting a detainee in the facility. So my question, to which I'm requesting a written response: which freeholders have read the incident reports about the May 17th incident? Many of the copies of those jail reports obtained for the Gothamist reporting are largely illegible, but still redacted. This shows that the originals were clear, so they knew what to redact, but little effort went into providing readable copies to the media, or they were intentionally made impossible to read. That kind of behavior indicates an environment where no one is worried about following the laws around producing documents. So why would we expect them to worry about following other laws or rules within the facility? If in one of the illegible documents, jail staff wrote in an official disciplinary report that the inmate's infraction was, among other things, being responsible for, quote, disrupting officers' breaks. Disrupting officers' breaks was written in an official infraction report by a sergeant working in that facility that day, Sergeant Lopez. Then that document was signed off by their lieutenant, Lieutenant Wise. Imagine the message that sends to everyone else when not only do you not get told, haha, now go rewrite the form, but your supervisor writes it and their supervisor signs off on it as is. And who knows what was written in the other documents that were seeming intentionally scanned so poorly as to be unreadable. But whatever they wrote on those other pages, the punishment doled out for the incident was to place the detainee in solitary confinement. A non-criminal civil detainee was placed in solitary confinement. Placed in solitary confinement for at least 5 days, but apparently 30 days. Placed in solitary confinement for 30 days, the longest allowed under the jail's rules for ICE detainees. And before being placed in solitary, he was beaten, punched, kicked, hit with a broomstick, and had an officer step on his genitals. Many of his injuries were confirmed at University Hospital. And I would say he was allegedly beaten, but the sergeant's report doesn't say he allegedly disrupted break. Because when you have power with no accountability, you don't have to use words like allegedly. These are documents from one case of a handful reported by the media,
30
of a
seconds.
handful that have been investigated by outside entities. The prosecutor's office only recently reopened this case when the media started digging into it. There must be hundreds, if not thousands, of similar occurrences, both on the correctional side and the ICE side of the facility. I will repeat this every time. These are Joe D's prisoners, your prisoners, our prisoners, my prisoners. We need strong, legally empowered civilian oversight of the jail in line with the ACLU recommendations. Thank you.
Good evening, freeholders, Essex County. Douglas Freeman, Southward Republican Chair of Newark, New Jersey. I come before you to talk about the voting process in Essex County and especially in the Southward of Newark. There has been an investigation from my office that has found that the poll workers have outdated training status, some dating back to 2012. We have had problems at the voting booths. We have had voter locations with no doorknobs in some of the past elections. We have had signs not put onto the voting locations, and this has been complaint after complaint after complaint issued to the Essex County Department of Elections. Asking through you, Freeholder President, that an investigation be had involving and checking out why is the South Ward so confused about how the voting process is to be taken and given to our citizens of America. We are American citizens, and we want to be given our right to vote without obstruction. There are people blocking the doors with signs, and that's a violation. Over 100 feet is the rule, but they 10 feet, 5 feet, and indoors at the voter locations. November the 5th is the election, and another issue that we have right now is the mandatory approval of mail-in ballots that was passed in August the 28th, which Governor Phil Murphy signed, that if you voted from 2016 to 2018 in any other elections as a mail-in ballot, you automatically now in this upcoming election have to vote by mail-in ballot. This was not given to the public in an amount of time where they can actually get to realize if they need to change this status or come before the election board to figure out what process is being done. There was no community meetings. There wasn't no conversation to the chairs of Essex County committees. It's just you get a letter in the mail and then you have to vote by mail unless you send in the paperwork by September the 16th. Through your office, Freeholder President, I'm asking that an investigation be had about the mail-in ballots.
30 seconds.
Mandatory also. Thank you.
Okay, Madam Clerk, let the record reflect that there's no one else wishing to speak at this time. Madam Clerk, I did want to just follow up on one particular issue because I did think I raised this at a couple meetings ago regarding a letter on the driver license or lack of driver license bill.
Yes, you did, Mr. President, and we will make sure that that gets done by the end of next week.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, do we have any ordinances or resolutions for introduction and first reading?
Mr. President, we have one.
Okay, Madam Clerk, please read it into the record at a later time. Mr. Jackson, can you please explain ordinance number 1?
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board. We have one ordinance, and County Counsel Gassion is here to explain.
Good evening, Courtney Gassion, Essex County Council. Mr. President, we have an ordinance requesting the approval of the creation of the Essex County Police Academy as a division of the existing Essex County Department of Corrections. As the board is aware, we took over the Essex County Police Academy in January this year pursuant to a lease agreement. We leased that facility, ran that facility since January of this year from the Essex County College through July 30th of this year. At that time, we entered into a purchase sale agreement, which was approved by the board earlier this summer. That closing took place on July 30th, and we now own the property. So at this point, it would be appropriate for us to create a division of the Essex County Police Academy, essentially to allow it to operate on its own budget under the Department of Corrections. This would become effective immediately so they can continue the operation seamlessly as they have been since January of this year.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Parlavecchio.
I don't have anything to add other than this is simply placing this within the Essex County Code and the structure of the organization.
Okay, Mr. McInerney.
Mr. President, almost the same type of comment. This is really just to formalize where this department will be in the annual budget under the Department of Corrections.
Thank you. Freeholder, is there any questions or comments? Freeholder Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. President. Question for Mr. McInerney. So this division was already funded within the budget that we adopted, correct? Or will we have to reallocate?
It's not in there now.
Will it require additional funding?
I can't answer that question. I don't recall seeing Police Academy itemized, and it wasn't a title and text at that point in time.
I don't believe it is in the 2018 budget, but it will be inserted into the 2019 budget. It will require additional funding.
So, Mr. Jackson, what will we do for this current year to fund the division since we're creating it right now?
This year, we're funding it out of, through you, Mr. President, we're funding it out of the corrections budget as it is right now. But this will be essentially enabling us to identify it more precisely as a cost center and be able to identify expenses and any revenues that are associated with it. So that's really what the intent is. But right this year, we're funding it more broadly out of the Corrections Department budget.
All right, thank you.
Good, thank you. Freeholder, there's additional questions or comments? Do I have a motion?
Move it.
Moved by Freeholder Cooper, second by Freeholder Mercado. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano absent. Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay, Madam Clerk, do we have any ordinances or resolutions for listing purposes only?
Mr. President, we have none.
Okay, Madam Clerk, do we have any?
Stop dehumanizing
Thank you. Okay, Madam Clerk, do we have any ordinances or resolutions on second reading and public hearing
Mr. President,
tonight?
we have none.
Okay, Madam Clerk, let's move to resolutions number 1 through 6, 57, 58, and 59, which are for the Department of Public Works. We can read them into the record at a later time. Mr. Jackson, could you please explain the resolutions?
Mr. President, Director Varghese is here to go through these items.
Thank you. You're okay. You're still alive.
Sanjeev Varghese, county engineer. Just want to make sure.
I'm looking this way, so if there's any issue, I'll let you know.
Resolution 1 is an insertion of revenue from NJDEP. This is for a car electric car charging station at the Environmental Center in Roseland. It's a typical charging station will cost us $12,000, and they're giving us 50% grant on this. We have received previous several grants for electric car charging stations. We did in Cody Arena, we did in the Hall of Record Complex.
Mm-hmm.
This is an additional one which we are going to get, and the Environmental Center is an appropriate location to have this.
I'm sorry, Sandy, I don't hear very well, forgive me. I need you to come closer to the mic, because with the shouting, please, mic.
I'm sorry for that. Again, resolution number 1 is for a charging station for budget insertion. It's a grant. Resolution number 2 is a contract with Sugar Property Services for landscaping at several.
I'm sorry, I apologize to interrupt. Why don't we take each of these individually, Mr. Jackson, if that's okay on your.
Certainly, Mr. President.
So let's, resolution number 1. Mr. Parlavecchio, do you have any questions or comments?
No.
Mr. McInerney, any
No
questions or comments? Freeholders, any questions or comments on resolution number 1? Freeholder, Vice President Richardson.
To you, Mr. President. So where's this charging station going to be located?
This will be at the Environmental Center at Roseland, the parks facility at Roseland. It's the Environmental Center, which is run by Department of Parks. It's on Eagle Rock Avenue in Roseland.
So how did the location get picked? How was it determined where this charging was going?
That when we applied for the grant, that we thought that was an ideal location. We have charging stations at most of the other places. We have it here, we have at the South Mountain Arena, and we are building more in the new parking deck.
Okay, thank you.
Freeholders, additional questions or comments? Do I have a motion?
Move it.
Moved by Freeholder Cooper, second by Vice President Richardson. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano, absent Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you. Moving to resolution number 2, which we can read into the record at a later time.
Resolution number 2 is for a contract with Sugar Property Services. It's for the landscaping of several public buildings. This complex here, the Youth House, 50 South Clinton, Public Works Building, and several other buildings. It's like 8 other buildings. I have somebody from Sugar here, Mr. Clarence.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Clarence Nathaniel Skynes III, the Sugar Group, Sugar Property Services. We've had the opportunity to work for the county for many years now, and we look to continue that relationship. At this particular contract is a maintenance contract, and we've done this work before. We've done the county parks work, and this one is the DPW facilities. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Parlavecchio?
Yeah, just a quick question. The DPW facility on Bloomfield Avenue, is that where this?
this is?
Yes, we have two facilities, one on one on Bradford Avenue, one in Bloomfield Avenue.
Got it, thank you.
Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Freeholders, additional questions? Vice President Richardson?
Will Sugar Group be self-performing?
I believe so, yes. I know there are some contracts, and this one in particular, yes. Yes, we will be performing the work ourselves.
I'm a little skeptical, because that's not what you said initially. You said you believe so. So are you sure or you're not sure?
You're asking me an absolute question in a gray area.
So if you don't know, just say you don't know. That's the easiest answer.
True.
All right, so, Mr. Varney, if you could find out
Yep,
if they will be if they be subbing the work out, and if it happens to be subbed out, I'd like to know who they're gonna sub it out to.
This is all performed by Sugar and their employees. There's no subcontracting in this.
Okay.
So for point of clarification, there's no subcontractors on this contract?
That's correct.
Okay. Additional questions or comments, Freeholders?
Mr.
Freeholder
President,
Mercado?
I have a comment, and it's not so much for this particular contract, but for the Sugar Group, because they do the landscaping at Branchbrook Park by the cherry blossoms, and there's an area along the fence, along the new school, the Park Elementary School, that needs to be attended to. And if you can draw that back to your bosses, I would appreciate that. The school principal called me. I went and looked at it. It needs, the trees need to be cut, the debris needs to be picked up. It's really an eyesore for children and parents who go to that school. And I don't think that the county, it's not a good reflection on the work that we do, because the rest of the park looks beautiful, but that area needs to be attended to. Thank you.
That area is maintained by Parks Department. I'll bring this to their attention and make sure that that's done properly.
Thank you. No, the reason I say that because the Sugar Group was doing the work the last time I spoke to them. Because I talked to the workers, and they said that I had to talk to a supervisor. But this was a while back ago, but the problem is it's back again. And I'm just asking that they go there and they do the work and clean it up.
We will make sure that.
Thank you.
We will make sure that's happened, and we will follow up and we'll make sure that it happened right.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Thank you, Freeholder. Freeholder, additional questions or comments? Do you have a motion?
I'll move it.
Moved by Freeholder Seabold.
Second.
Second by Vice President Richardson. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano. Absent Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Moving to resolution number 3, which will be read to the record at a later time.
Resolution number 3 is for a contract with Superior Environmental. They are the supplier of the 2 boilers we have in this building. That's brand new boilers, which is like within the last 5 years we installed them. But only Superior can maintain them and tune up them, because we need yearly maintenance on the boiler. Only they can open the boiler and maintain them, and this is a contract for 2 years for a total of $75,000 as needed basis.
Mr. Parlavecchio?
Okay. Sanjeev, this is a combination of as needed and regular or regularly scheduled maintenance?
Yes, that is required by law that several, we have to open up and inspect it for the insurance and certifications.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Freeholders, questions or comments? So mover.
So moved.
Moved by Freeholder Mercado, second by Freeholder Cooper, or Graham, I'm sorry, Graham, thank you. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson, absent. Freeholder Luciano, absent. Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to resolution number 4.
Resolution number 4 is a contract with T-Slack Environmental. This is to maintain the fueling stations. We have around 9 fueling stations throughout the county for public vehicles. Again, the law requires us to have testing, inspection, and maintenance done on this. T-Slack is a certified vendor who does this. They have a state contract, but we went out for bid and they were the lowest bidder. And I have someone from T-Slack here, if you have any questions.
Good evening. I'm Vin D'Alessandro. I'm the operations manager for T-Slack. We currently hold the contract that we just were low bidder on. We maintain all your fueling sites. We do monthly inspections to keep all your facilities in compliance. We've been in business for over 40 years, and we look forward to continuing working with the county.
Thank you, Mr. Parlavecchio.
No questions.
Freeholders? Vice President Richardson?
How long have you had the Essex County contract?
I believe this is our 8th year.
And where you guys located?
We're in Kenilworth.
How many, do you employ any Essex County residents?
5.
Thank you.
Mr. McInerney?
6.
I have no questions.
Say 6?
6 minorities, someone had asked.
Numbers going up.
Yes, sir.
Instantaneously. That's good. Added another one like right away.
No, actually, Mr. Vice President, you asked a question about Essex County residents, which she answered 5. Mr. Wadu asked how many of the employees were minorities, and he said 6.
Oh, okay, I missed that.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Mr. McInerney?
Mr. Wadu, you shouldn't be yelling out of turn.
Additional questions or comments, Freeholders? Do I have a mover?
Motion.
Moved by Freeholder Cooper. Second by Freeholder Graham. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano, absent Freeholder Johnson, absent Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to resolution number 5.
Resolution number 5 is a consenting resolution for Township of Orange. This is from Main Street, left turn prohibition to Dunkin' Donuts Driveway. This is a consenting resolution. The town has their ordinance approved, so they send it to us, and we have to just consent if we agree with the ordinance. And in this case, we are just requesting for consent from the Freeholder Board.
Okay. Mr. Parlavecchio?
Yeah, yes, Mr. President, as Sanjeev said, this is, the city adopted this ordinance, which the county reviewed, and it, from the backup information, doesn't conflict with any of our regulations.
Okay. Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Freeholders, additional questions or comments? Do I have a mover and a second?
I'll move it.
Moved by Freeholder Siebel.
Second.
Second by Freeholder Graham. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson, absent Freeholder Luciano, absent Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you. So moved. Moving to resolution number 6.
Resolution number 6 is another consenting resolution for Township of Glenridge. This Hillside Avenue is a town road, and this is it's one way at certain locations, and it's removing the one way into a two-way street. It's again a consenting resolution from the Freeholder Board.
Okay. Mr. Parlavecchio?
No questions.
Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Freeholders?
Mr. President?
Yes. Freeholder Pomares?
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, Sanjeev. I know the area well because I live for close by. This is because of the new old school that's being made a school again, correct?
Yes.
And so I see on Hillside Avenue, which currently makes in the direction going from Bloomfield Avenue towards Belleville Avenue. That's the one-way now. And so this proposal make that two-way.
That's correct.
It's fairly narrow street. So is there any parking being eliminated on one side?
Again, that street belongs to the township. If any parking prohibition, that is up to the township.
I am aware that it's up to the township. I'm asking you if you're aware of any parking changes.
Not to my knowledge.
Okay, do you think there may be any changes there? Because that's a very narrow street. I would imagine in the design that you looked over in engineering, you would have calculated that, because we have a lot of issues in this area, which is very historic, that it's very narrow streets, and some of these two-way streets are really problematic.
I spoke to the town manager, and he said there is no adverse effect by doing this, and he put that in writing to me. So we confirmed that there won't be any issues.
Okay, thank you.
Freeholder, additional questions or comments? Just to follow up on your question, Freeholder Pomaris, I mean, this was an issue that was raised also both in the parking and just the general, some other concerns that were raised in the leadership meeting as well. There was an additional response, I believe, circulated to us from our leadership questions. I want to thank the administration from that. But I would concur. I still trying to understand, but going to defer to the local governing body if this is what they would like us to do. But I share your concerns.
Thank you. Mr. President, just for the record, I mean, I have no problem with helping the school out by all means. I think it's a wonderful idea, and I'm glad to see that the old building is going back to being a school as opposed to a bank. But just down the road, like where you see, if you look at it on Google Maps, and I'm sure you've seen it before, that's a dividing line between Bloomfield and Glen Ridge. And so what used to be an AT&T building has been converted into apartments. And so that plus the other apartments down on Park Avenue, which I know because I used to live there, on Park Street, and then on Broad Street, there's an incredible number of apartments there. So parking is impacted, and while there may not be an apartment building directly on Hillside, the removal of parking may be challenging. It doesn't seem, in my estimation, since I've made that left turn onto it, that it's wide enough for two-way traffic. I live on a street in Bloomfield where it's two-way. It really shouldn't be a two-way, but you know, there are those issues. So if you have all these vehicles coming in and out on a two-way and you don't remove the parking, there's going to be some serious congestion there. And I bet you the loss of quite a few mirrors over time with parking cars losing their mirrors. Happens on my street all the time.
Again, we'll go back and revisit that, but again, they have put in writing to me that there is no issue, there is enough gap to make that left turn. There won't be an issue. But again, if there's a parking issue, we'll go back and...
It's not the left turn. It's the two-way. It's not the actual left turn. I mean, the turn is easy. It's the two-way when you go down the street and you got cars coming in and out of the driveway, as I'm looking at it now on Google Maps here. So.
But typically, we don't go against the township will, and we usually go by the home rule.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. If you're happy with it, that's fine.
Thank you. I just have a question to make sure I'm following you. Is this where the Wells Fargo used to be?
Yes.
Yes.
And that's a one-way now that they want to make a two-way? With parking too? To make
I
sure
don't know about the
correct?
parking.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Thank you.
Yep. Additional questions or comments, Freeholders?
I'm happy to move it, Mr. President.
Okay, Freeholder, moved by Freeholder Pomaris.
I'll second.
Second by Freeholder Mercado. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Sebo.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano, absent. Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson, we're voting on Resolution 6.
Oh, yes, yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Going to move to resolution number 57.
Resolution 57 is a contract with VIP Special Services. This is to power wash and clean 3 structures. One is Cody Arena, the big arena, the ice rink itself with the curved roof, and the parking deck, first parking deck in the front, and the third building is the parking deck here in the Hall of Workout complex. It's because of the algae buildup, it's getting all like dark colored, and this is to just do some minor masonry repair and power washing the whole facility, the whole structure. I have someone from VIP here in case you have any questions.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Luke Ward. I'm the owner and general manager of VIP Special Services. This is the type of work we do. We've worked with the county before, and we still hold a successful contract with the parks doing snow removal. And this job is pretty basic. I was out there again today to make sure we're prepared and we're ready to go if y'all are.
Okay, Mr. Prolavecchio.
No questions.
Mr. McInerney.
No questions.
Freeholders.
I'll move, Mr. President.
Moved by Freeholder Palmaris.
Second.
Second by Freeholder Cooper. Or Graham,
Graham.
I'm sorry. You guys are moving quick tonight, so I can't turn my head fast enough.
Chop, chop.
Apparently that's the only thing we're quick on. Second by Freeholder Graham. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano. Absent. Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Palmares.
Yes.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay, moving to resolution number 58.
Resolution 58 is a federal aid agreement. We have a grant from NJTPA for improving the intersection of Main and Scotland High, that the bank intersection in Orange. This is the agreement with the state for receiving that grant. We expect to get this job going within the next 2 months. That's a very busy intersection. It's very important for Orange Township. We've been in touch with them, and they want this project going sooner.
Okay, Mr. Prolavecchio.
No questions.
Mr. McInerney.
No questions.
Freeholders. Freeholder Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. President. What can we do regarding the speeding and the overall speeding on Scotland Road, especially as you come across the intersection on Main Street, going to Scotland, going towards South Orange, coming over that bridge? It's a tremendous amount of speeding. Just yesterday, I got 2 text messages from folks who were almost hit by cars trying to cross at the bottom of the bridge. Because remember, in that section, it's 2 lanes wide on each street, and then it shrinks down as you get a little bit further down.
Yes, up to the Bravo intersection, people are speeding. We can provide 2 speed radar there, and so that people slow down. And the main thing is the enforcement. The local police has to enforce, they have to issue tickets. But we have this pedestrian safety, lot of initiative going on. We have brought radar which shows their speed. Most of the people doesn't even look at the speedometer, so they just drive. And that is a very easy section of roadway to speed. And we will put a couple of speed radars so that people are aware of the speed. And in addition to that, if the local police can enforce the speed limit, it will help.
I think the speed limit is already posted there, and that's still not being effective, and the police can't be everywhere. So I would like for you to meet with the township, because we have, right there's a major crossing for the kids as well. So after school time, it's a plethora of kids that are trying to get across Scotland, and it is very difficult. We've added an additional crossing guard, but the speeding is still taking place. So I will have the Public Works Director contact you so we can meet about this particular area.
I'll be glad to meet with them, but meanwhile, I'll put a couple of speed radars there anyway, so that at least people are aware of the speed.
Thank you.
Is there, are there, so you would be back to the board for contract with design?
Yes, design is all done, bids were I guess bids are taken. It's waiting for this approval and state approval to come before the board.
Does the design envision any curb bump outs at the intersection?
There is no bump outs, but it meets complete street as you have suggested, and I put that in writing as a question back to you.
Okay. So just to follow up on Freeholder Cooper's question, there should be a series of things then in the design of the project, if it complies with the policy, that would hopefully address issues of speed.
The traffic intersection will be a top of the line intersection, which if pedestrian can activate, all the lights can go red, and pedestrians can cross if that is the way we choose to. But this is again a high-tech intersection we can do anything we want there. But that's a very busy intersection. If we delay anything one side, it's going to create a jam on the other side. So it's a lot of trial and error to get to the fine tuning of that intersection.
Freeholders, additional questions or comments? On the motion?
Motion.
Moved by Freeholder Cooper, second by Freeholder Graham. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano, absent. Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson, absent. Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay, moving to resolution number 59.
Resolution 59 is a contract with, for a graphic design consultant services for, as you know, we are designing a new building in this complex in the ECA parking lot. And the administration is planning to name it after Martin Luther King. And the first lobby of the building, we are planning to have several artifacts and graphics to actually tell the visitors the history of Martin Luther King. And this special graphics consultant will come up with the design, and so that we can prepare and go out for bid with the same package. And she has done the same work at the Donald Payne School in the lobby, and she's a well-known artist.
Okay, Mr. Parlavecchio.
No questions.
Mr. McInerney.
So, and again, this is just the design cost. This does not include any costs associated with the actual exhibit or the construction of the exhibit itself, correct?
This is the design cost for the graphics, but this will be part of the construction specification package we will send out for bid for the whole building.
But there'll be another contract you'll bid to actually do the exhibit, correct?
That part will be within the part of the construction itself, the whole building.
Oh, it's included in the whole building?
Yes.
So there's not an allocated cost for that?
No, this is just the design, and this will be part of the scope for the big building.
Okay. But the design will tell you what you have to do during construction in order to facilitate the exhibit?
Yes.
Okay, freeholders? Freeholder Cooper.
Thank you. Is this for a new building? What is this for exactly?
This is for the new building which we are planning to construct in the ECA parking lot.
Okay. Thank you.
Freeholders?
Move it.
Moved by Freeholder Mercado.
Second.
Second by Freeholder Pomares. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson, absent. Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano, absent. Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay. Thank you. Moving back to resolutions number 7, we'll do number 7 and then 60 through 63, which we can read into the record at a later time. Mr. Jackson.
Mr. Zates is here, Mr. President.
Joshua Zates, Essex County Parks. Number 7 is a contract with David Fred Development Corp. to furnish, deliver, install, and then remove the holiday lights over at the Turtleback Zoo. This is a 2-year contract. The amount of the contract to display the lights will be $95,000 per year, and then there's an additional $40,000 allowance for the life of the contract. The holiday lights will have to be fully installed by November 13th, and then they'll be on display from the Friday before Thanksgiving up until New Year's, with the exception of Christmas when they're closed.
Okay, Mr. Parlavecchio.
No question.
Mr. McInerney.
No questions.
Freeholder Siebel, thank you.
Did they have this contract last year?
Joshua Zates, Essex County Parks. Through you, Mr. President, yes, they had it last year.
Thank you. I'll move it.
Any additional, we have a mover, any additional questions or comments? If not, we have a move by Freeholder Siebel.
Second.
Second by Freeholder Cooper. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper. Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano. Absent. Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson. Absent. Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay, thank you. Moving to resolution number 60.
Joshua Zates, Essex County Parks. Resolution number 60 is a contract extension with Kevin Downs Tree Service for tree removal, trimming, stump grinding services. That's throughout the entire Essex County Park system, and we do have a representative from the company here.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Scott Romandet. I'm part of the sales team over at Downs Tree Service, located in Hawthorne, New Jersey.
Would you like to tell us anything more about the contract?
We are currently under contract with the County of Essex, Department of the Public Works and Parks Department for over 15 years. We also have worked to continue with the City of Newark and the Township of West Orange, Essex County Improvement Authority, and public and private entities in Essex County.
Thank you. Mr. Parlavecchio?
No questions.
Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Freeholders? Freeholder Mercado?
Yes, this is a question, maybe for the administration, for trees that are dead. There's some trees that are down. There's stumps all over in Branchbrook Park. How do you determine which stumps get removed and how does that work?
Joshua Zates, Essex County Parks. Through you, Mr. President. Our maintenance, the parks maintenance personnel will go out and survey the area. Certainly, anything that poses a public risk is a first priority. And then the stumps, you know, it's kind of a when we get to it kind of thing, just because, you know, obviously there's no danger involved with that.
Thank you.
Mr. President?
Okay.
If I may.
Freeholder Graham? Did you have a question?
Is that for all of the parks, the tree trimming? For all the parks?
Through you, Mr. President, that is correct.
And Freeholder Cooper.
Freeholder Cooper?
Thank you. Have you done an assessment for the number of trees that need to be addressed in Orange Park? Because there's some leftover stumps and trees from earlier this year.
Joshua Zates, Essex County Parks. Through you, Mr. President. I know our maintenance staff goes out and does do inventory in all the parks. Specifically, I cannot speak to Monty Irvin Orange Park, but certainly we welcome comments from the public as well as the Freeholder Board if there's something specific that you think we need to address.
Thank you.
Okay. Additional questions or comments? Freeholder Pomares?
Thank you. Do you leave any stumps intentionally in the ground as part of the wildlife and regeneration process? It's, you know, part of the natural decays, helps flora and fauna.
Through you, Mr. President, that would be more for like the reservation.
Yeah.
The policy, I should say the way we go about it, if a tree falls in the reservation, if it's blocking a pathway, we would saw through it to continue with the pathway, but otherwise we would just let it, you know, nature take its course.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay. Freeholder, additional questions or comments?
I'll move it.
Moved by Freeholder Siebel,
Second, Mr. President.
second by Freeholder Graham.
I defer to the lovely 3-0 Cowboy fan.
Roll call, Madam Clerk. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Oh, I'm sorry. Freeholder. Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano. Absent. Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Resolution number 61.
Joshua Zates, Essex County Parks. Resolution number 61 is insertion of revenues from the Zoological Society in the amount of $150,000. This is a generous contribution from the Zoological Society that we use mainly to purchase animal food over at the zoo. To date, they've awarded the county $450,000. This is an additional $150,000 for the fourth quarter of our fiscal year, which I'm no math whiz, but I believe that equals $600,000. Just to give you a little discourse in
the Zoological's fundraising efforts. They do host a gala. They have a Brew at the Zoo event every summer, which brings in significant money. But their main source of revenue is from their memberships. If you'll indulge me, I could read briefly the different kind of membership levels they have. The individual membership, which includes one adult, is $75. Individual plus one, which would be 2 adults and 1 child, $100. Family, 2 adults and up to 4 children, $125. Family plus 1 adult, 3 adults up to 4 children, $150. Supporting 2 adults up to 6 children, up to 2 guests per visit is $200. A patron, which would be 2 adults and up to 6 children, and up to 4 guests per visit, as well as a behind-the-scenes zoo tour, is $500. And their highest level is a benefactor, which includes 2 adults up to 6 children, 4 guests per visit, behind-the-scenes tour. You can make rounds with the zoo veterinarian, and there's also an invitation to the director's breakfast, and that is $1,000.
Very good. Mr. Parlavecchio.
No questions.
Mr. McInerney.
Could you break that down in terms of gross revenues? How much of that, in terms of the membership fees, how much does that come to?
Through you, Mr. President, we would have to reach out to the Zoological Society for that.
I had asked that question at the leadership meeting. Also wanted to know whether or not the amount of monies raised through the purchase of the admission tickets. I believe it's $1, I'm not sure exactly, but some portion of that, I believe, goes also to the Zoological Society. Is that correct?
Through you, Mr. President, I'm unaware of that. I know there is the South Mountain Recreation Complex enhancement fee that I believe is $2 per ticket, but I'm unaware of any of those funds going to the Zoological, but certainly I will double check.
Yeah, again, I'm not 100% sure, but if you can get the information of the sources of the funds that the Zoological Society has in order to give this money back to the county. I mean, we're not questioning it, just a question of wanting to have some more information on where the source of these funds actually are.
Okay, thank you, Mr. McInerney. Freeholders? Freeholder Graham?
Are those fees, are they yearly or?
Freeholder Graham, could you use your microphone?
I'm sorry. Are the fees yearly or is it every time you attend the zoo you pay that?
Through you, Mr. I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time understanding. Oh, yes, those are annual fees.
Okay, all right.
Freeholders?
I'll move it.
Moved by Freeholder Seabold. Roll call, excuse me, do I have a second? Second by
Second.
Freeholder Graham. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano, absent. Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Seabold.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay, thank you. Moving to resolution number 63.
Just did 60.
61, I'm sorry. No, thank you, Freeholder Seabold. Moving to 63.
Joshua Zates, Essex County Parks. Just a point of clarification, I believe we're on 62.
Right. Yes. Correct. You just did 61.
Oh, you know what, I'm sorry, I apologize. This reads, 60 through 63. Thank you, all in the same. So we can do 62.
Sure. Joshua Zates, Essex County Parks. Number 62 is fiscal year 2020 local arts program budget insertion from the state. Again, this is the budget insertion. We are in the process of evaluating the applications, and then we will come back to the board sometime during 2020 and award those applicants. I will say that we have 40 applications, and our evaluation committee is going through them.
Okay, Mr. Parlavecchio?
No questions.
Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Freeholders, any questions?
I'll move it.
Moved by Freeholder Seabold, second by Freeholder Mercado. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Seabold.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano, absent. Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder
Thank you.
Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay, moving to resolution number 63.
Joshua Zates, Essex County Parks. Resolution number 63 is fiscal year 2020 budget insertion from the state for the County History Partnership Program. This is very similar to item number 62, only that this is the history grant portion, which again, we will be coming to the board at a later date to announce those recipients. We do have 15 applications that are currently being reviewed, and I'm happy to announce that the $34,000 and change is a 45% increase over what we previously gotten in the past. So we are very proud of that.
Okay. Mr. Parlavecchio?
No questions.
Mr. McInerney?
No question.
Freeholders?
Mr. President?
Freeholder Pomeroy.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm very glad to hear that there's a big increase there. I'll argue it's not enough, but I know that's not your issue. To what do you attribute the increase to? What was the, how did you get extra money? Share with us the secret.
Through you, Mr. President, I wish I had the magical formula for you. I would have to refer to our archivist. She's the one that's really spearheading this work.
Okay, so if you don't mind, can you let me know, I mean, this is very close to me professionally. I'd like to know, did you just simply request more money, or is this more money was available to the state by some, fluke or something, or I don't know what else. But if you could let me know, I'd appreciate that.
Certainly.
Thank you.
Okay. Additional questions or comments?
I'm
Mover?
happy to move it, Mr.
Moved by Freeholder Pomeroy.
Second.
Second by Freeholder Mercado. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano, absent. Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Kamara.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to resolutions number 8 through 13, which we can read into the record at a later time. Mr. Jackson.
Mr. President, Director Serio is here to address these items.
Thank you. Mr. Serio.
George Serio, Housing Community Development. Good evening. First item is the CDBG grant agreement with the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. This is for $5.1 million. This was previously presented as a plan at the June 26th meeting. A matrix of the proposed subrecipient agreements are included through the various towns and countywide agencies.
Okay, Mr. Parlavecchio.
No questions.
Mr. McInerney.
No question.
Freeholders.
Through you, Mr. President.
Yes, thank you, Vice President.
So this money is already allocated?
No, the money's not allocated. This tonight will allow the agreement to be executed and allow the division to enter into subrecipient agreements. The funds were released by Congress this week, so as soon as we execute all the subrecipient agreements, the respective subrecipients can begin working on their projects.
So, so once it's released, it's already earmarked, it's already going, it's already designated to who would want to receive the money?
Correct. That was what was submitted in the plan that was submitted in June identified the potential activities. HUD reviewed that plan and notified the county a couple weeks ago that it was approving that plan, and now these are the actual subrecipient agreements that the county will enter into.
Are there any developers or any of those kinds of things? I know we've given CDBG money to certain developers and those kinds of things, or any of them in this?
CDBG typically is not used to fund developers. That would be through the home program. The CDBG program is principally used by the 18 municipalities in the urban county to perform infrastructure, public facility, ADA improvements throughout the towns. And then there's a public service component which is capped at 15%.
Thank you.
You say, Mr. Serio, that Congress took action on this last week? You said HUD, or did I miss?
No, HUD issued a letter approving the action plan, which was previously submitted back in the summer. Okay. This is just approving that contract and allowing the county to enter into the subrecipient agreements identified in the matrix.
Okay.
I apologize. The federal government has released the funds.
So that, I thought I heard you say Congress had released the funds.
Yeah.
The reason I'm asking is Are you leading me to believe that Congress did something?
They actually did something.
Just wanted to make sure I heard you right.
Yeah, no, that's correct.
They did something, okay.
Yes.
It's a good week. All right, freeholders, additional questions or comments?
I'll move it, Mr.
Moved
President.
by Freeholder Pomeroy,
Second.
second by Freeholder Cooper. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Sewell. Yes. Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano. Absent Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay, George Serio, Housing Community Development, Resolution 9. This is a grant agreement through the Emergency Solutions Grant, also a HUD program. Once again, this is part of the plan that was previously submitted back in June. This is a contract between the county and HUD to administer the program, and a list of the sub-recipient agreements that will be entered into has been provided. These are homeless providers, various nonprofit agencies through the county. 40% of these funds must be used for homeless prevention and rapid rehousing programs, which are identified in the matrix.
Okay, Mr. Parlavecchio.
No questions.
McInerney.
No questions.
Freeholders, additional questions or comments? Have a mover?
Motion.
Moved by Freeholder Cooper.
Second.
Second by Freeholder Pomeroy. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
That was Mercado, sorry.
Mercado? Freeholder.
The other good-looking.
No, I go the other way. Freeholder Mercado. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano. Absent Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Sewell.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay. Moving to resolution number 10.
Number 10, once again, George Serio, Housing Community Development. This is a resolution accepting the grant agreement with HUD to implement the Home Investment Partnership Program. This is the Affordable Housing Development Program. There are no subrecipients listed here because these funds are a loan program. They are the last money in, so we will bring eligible projects to this board once we have eligible projects to present. There is, I should note, a carve-out of $100,000 for first-time home buyers.
Okay. Mr. Parlavecchio.
No questions.
Ms. McInerney.
No questions.
Freeholders.
Motion.
Moved by Freeholder Cooper. Second by Freeholder Graham. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Sewell.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano. Absent Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay, moving to resolution number 12.
Number 12, once again, George Serio, Housing Community Development. This is for the
11, excuse me.
11.
Yep.
I'm sorry. 11, this is for a reprogramming of the Emergency Solution Grant Funds from 2019 for a total amount of $82,756. These funds were never allocated due to the fact that the division did not receive eligible applications. So these funds were re-advertised and applications were received. The three entities identified in the matrix met all the qualifications, and the division is recommending that these entities be funded for the homeless prevention and rapid rehousing activities identified.
Okay, Mr. Parlavecchio.
No questions.
Ms. McInerney.
No questions.
Freeholders. Have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Moved by Freeholder Cooper and second by Freeholder Mercado.
Freeholder
Roll call, Madam
Sewell.
Clerk.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano. Absent Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay, moving to resolution number 12.
Number 12, once again, George Serio, Housing. This is a request to enter into or amend an existing agreement with the Township of Millburn. The township had sent a letter to the division seeking a change of site of their existing contract. The previous agreement with the Township of Millburn was for ADA improvements to their municipal building. The bids came in way over what they expected, so they had requested a change of site to the Parcel House, which is a historic building located in the town. The contract will remain for the same amount, and these will also be used for ADA improvements at that public facility, totaling $34,055.
Okay, Mr. Malavecchio?
No questions.
Ms.
No
McInerney?
questions.
Freeholders?
I'll move it. Second.
Okay, moved by Freeholder Seabold, second. Do I have a second? Freeholder Graham? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Seabold?
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson?
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares absent. Freeholder Mercado?
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano absent. Freeholder Johnson?
Yes.
Freeholder Graham?
Yes.
Freeholder Cooper?
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill?
Yes.
So moved.
Moving to resolution number 13.
Once again, George Serio Housing. This is a request to utilize reprogram funds in the amount of $800,000 for 3 activities. The division advertised the availability of these funds. The division received 3 applications. The entities are the Township of Livingston for ADA improvements to their municipal building, Township of Montclair for ADA improvements to Pine Street and Valley Road fire stations, and the Essex County DPW for Weequahic Park fence replacement and installment.
Okay. Mr. Malavecchio?
No questions.
Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Freeholders? Freeholder Cooper?
Yes, thank you. Director, you advertised for saying that there was $800,000 available, and these are the only 3 entities that responded?
That's correct.
Was there a restriction on how the money could be used?
No. There's a public notice was issued in the Star Ledger, put on the county website, and in the El Coqui newspaper.
And no municipalities responded?
The 2
I
municipalities.
mean, except for the 2 that's listed here?
That's correct.
Additional questions or comments?
My additional comment would be,
Sure.
we got to do a better job then. It was only $800,000, there was no restrictions, the number of municipalities that we have here, and I think these are all worthy, admirable projects that we're funding. It's just, I know in my town where I live, in my town where I work, we're always scrambling and looking for additional dollars to bridge the projects that we're doing, whether it's parks projects or affordable housing projects. And I'm remiss, and I'm probably going to ask you for the advertisement to go back, when I go back to work, to ask how did the staff overlook and not put in a response to this advertisement once you put it out there. Thank you.
As part of the advertisement process, do we directly notify the business administrators in the municipalities?
We do not. We are required by HUD to issue a notice in a newspaper of major circulation, which is the Star Ledger.
Mm-hmm.
We also discuss these topics at our monthly meetings. So we indicate that, there's a potential of reprogramming dollars becoming available, and to...
I'm sorry, the monthly meeting, what's the
We
significance?
meet monthly with all our CD reps, third Thursday of each month. Each town has 2 community development representatives that they send to the meeting, so they're up to date on all regulatory requirements, programmatic developments, progress reports.
So would this be on the agenda for one of those meetings to notify, those reps would be aware?
If it was discussed, yes, because I would imagine, I think dating back...
I guess I'm asking a more simple question. Is there a reason we just don't directly notify municipalities when we have this type of opportunity?
I don't think that we have it would be a fair playing field if we notified, we're required to notify the public in general, and calling towns up individually, I don't think that would meet that requirement under the HUD rules.
Okay. I did. Freeholder Cooper.
Thank you. I don't think Freeholder President is suggesting that you contact the townships individually, but like almost like the purchasing portal system that you guys have, that when a bid spec come out, if you're registered and signed up, you know, as a part of the process, you get a notification that a bid is out that, you know, may or may not be of your interest. So it would at least trigger people to go and respond. You know, sometimes when you're sitting in meetings, there's so much information that you're dealing with that maybe sometimes some things get missed and go over your head. So just the way, you know, I think I would probably have the same question. Is there a way for us to have all of your current sub-grantees and former sub-grantees? Do you have some kind of notification email, like email blast system for them when you have a funding announcement?
We notify every CD rep of every meeting. Reminders are sent out. We are going to a online system hopefully this year, but we've met all the HUD requirements.
So the answer is no, you don't have that right now. You only communicate with your reps.
We communicate with our reps all the time. Yes, that's correct.
But if I may, Freeholder, I think too, part of the issue is that we have to maintain a level playing field, because it's not just towns that can respond. So if there's a leg up, if you will, that we're giving to certain applicants, HUD's requiring us to be, to essentially give equal notification to all entities. So if we were to do what you suggest, which I understand, we would in fact be giving additional a leg up to some entities over others.
So thank you, Administrator Jackson, because initially my comments were only thinking about the townships and municipalities. I wasn't even thinking about other organizations that may have been eligible to apply for this. You all have a great email system where you email out about various activities and groundbreakings and grand openings and different things. My question is simple. Could we utilize that same system to say, hey, we have $800,000 available in money that we've reprogrammed or newly received money to get the word out, or a Facebook account that the county has to get the word out, or that portal that we use to spin out the bid specs to get the word out that there's money available. I'm just thinking about the gentleman that was before us a couple of months back who was doing either AIDS stuff or homeless funding as well. He was working with a consortium of people. And I remember his commentary was that it's always the same groups that come and apply, that they do a whole lot to try to get the word out, but they rarely get any new organizations. So my question is, my ask rather is piggybacking off of President Gill's question is, what more can we do? If we have Facebook, Twitter, regular email that we're already paying for, that infrastructure is there, I don't think it's giving an unfair advantage to anybody if you send out an open notice to say these funds are available. I mean, you guys probably have a couple thousand people in that database, I would imagine. I don't see how that would violate, and I'm not a lawyer, I don't have a JD, but we have a whole staff of people who could probably render an opinion to say if it would be above board, or if it would not, you know, be in violation of whatever some of these rules are that you're recommending. Just an open notice, hey, money's available. Can we figure out if we can help you generate something like that?
As long as it's consistent with all the HUD regs, yes.
Thank you.
Freeholders?
I'll move it.
Moved by Vice President Richardson.
Second.
Second by Freeholder Cooper. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Luciano, absent. Freeholder Ricardo.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Siebel. Yes. Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Moving to resolution number 14.
Director Del Gaudio.
Read into the record at a later time.
Frank Delgadio, Director, Department of Health and Rehabilitation, Hospital Division. Resolution 14 is a response to a bid for radiology services for the patients of the Essex County Hospital Center. It's a 2-year bid. This is a vendor that we had previously, and 2 years ago they were bid out by another vendor, and there was a 2-year renewal option on this, and the current vendor declined the renewal option, so we went back out to bid on this, and the vendor that we used previously was the only sole responsible bidder on this contract.
Mr. Pavlicki?
No questions.
Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Freeholders? Freeholder Siebold?
Was this firm, did they do a good job in the past when you had them?
They do a very good job. Our requirements are very specific on what we request of our vendors that perform direct patient care services. They sit on committees. They provide quarterly reports to us. We track all of the data. We track the physicians that are writing orders for different services. They also do EKGs, ultrasounds, x-rays, and they have a mobile mammography van that comes twice a year to the hospital.
But they didn't get the offer last time.
That's correct.
Why?
It was a bid.
Okay.
So it's a price per
Yeah,
service,
I
and
understand.
it came out lower
Thank
by a
you.
different firm.
You, Mr. President?
Yes, Vice President?
When was the last bid?
The last bid was 2 years ago, July. It was a July 1st bid. So the vendor who was currently there agreed to continue the services, but their prices were so low it didn't go over the bid threshold. So we didn't need to declare an emergency or an extension on this contract because of the pricing was so low. I think they realized they couldn't operate. They were coming out of New York. And that's why now we're in September for the contract moving forward.
Okay.
Where's this company, I'm sorry.
No, please.
Where's this company located?
Symphony Mobilex, it's a national company, but this Symphony division is out of Wayne.
Questions? Comments?
I'll move it.
Moved by Fielder
Second.
Mercado, second by Fielder Palmaris. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Siebold?
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson?
Yes.
Freeholder Palmaris?
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado?
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano, absent Freeholder Johnson?
Yes.
Freeholder Graham?
Yes.
Freeholder Cooper?
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill?
Yes.
So moved.
Madam Clerk, so moved. Moving to 15 and 64, which we can read into the record at a later time. Resolution 15.
Director
Thank
Fisher.
you. Good evening, Eileen Fishman, Director of Community Health Services. I'm here with my program monitor for alcohol and drug addiction services, Roberto Alvarez, and Colette DeGrazia. Number 15 is the insertion of the grant that we received from the state of $1,443,591 to be used for the purposes of alcohol prevention, alcohol and substance use disorder prevention, education, treatment.
You want to start something?
Okay. Want to take 64?
And for number 64, this is a modification of 3 existing support service contracts under the Chapter 51 grant. And I have, and that means that in the grant in this year, we've had monies allocated to different treatment sources. And because there have been Medicaid waivers put into place, monies, we are the payer of last resort, and Medicaid has been filling in a lot of the gaps. And so, because we have such a public health crisis with substance use disorder, so we have monies that have not been used in certain areas. So we've asked the state, we've put in a modification to ask the state if we could adjust those. So what we've done is we have the 3 providers here this evening. We've given, or hope to be giving, more money to Real House, which is a halfway house for women, and Cora, which is for short-term residential, located in Newark, and for COPE Center, which is for outpatient and intensive outpatient. So this evening I have with me the director of COPE, Sue Seidenfeld, Jodalio Caballero from Cora, and Nilda Rodriguez from Real House. Do you have any questions? We can answer them.
Since they've joined us this evening, would any of them like to address the board? Or?
Sure.
Good evening. Jodalio Caballero, Director of Intake of Cure. We provide services to Essex County people with drug and alcohol, substance abuse disorders. We provide a 28-day program. We've been doing this for years with Essex County, and on behalf of Cure, I want to thank the Freeholders and Roberto and everybody in Essex County.
Good evening. Sue Seidenfeld from Cope Center, located in Montclair. We have been in existence in Essex, serving Essex County for over 50 years now, and we provide outpatient, intensive outpatient, and prevention and early intervention services to anyone who can access us in the county. We really focus all around the county, and we are very grateful, and we thank you for the consideration of the funds. We thank the county for the funds. It really is helping us as we work with, we have an adolescent program and an adult program to provide substance abuse treatment and prevention. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Nilda Rodriguez. I am the director of Real House. I cover the 3.1 level of care, which is a halfway house and sober living. When clients come from a residential facility, they will need places, safe places to maintain their sobriety, and so we provide that type of service in Essex County. Newark, Bloomfield, and Elizabeth is a new house. We definitely are thankful because due to the opiate addiction crisis in New Jersey, it's a very extremely needed service that we're providing, and collaborating with my colleagues. We all cover all the levels of care. We have residential, halfway houses, inpatient. So we thank you for the opportunity and hope you consider what's being presented. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry. Mr. Paladecchio?
I don't have any questions.
Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Freeholders, additional questions or comments? Moved by, I think, moved by Freeholder Johnson, second by Freeholder Seabold. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Seabold. Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomaro.
Yes.
Freeholder McCarter.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano. Absent. Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Graham. Absent. Freeholder Cooper.
64, 15 and 64.
Yes. Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for everything. Thank you for everything.
Thank you.
Mr. President, I just want to, we did 15 and 64 for those?
Those were, yes, I'm sorry, thank you. That was 15 and 64.
Thank you.
Together. Moving to resolution number 16.
Mr. President, item 16 is from the Division of Senior Services. It's approval of our 2020 Senior Services Action Plan, which will provide for services for our older residents in home support, access community support, and nutrition services in the amount of $4,871,900. And then we will be going out and coming back to the board again with the agencies that are going to provide these services. If I may, Mr. President, one of the things to respond to Vice President Richardson's question about the meals at Vailsburg, I got a hold of Director Brown, and essentially what happened was we opened up the facility just for the recreation and the activity component of it, was the initial intent. And then just made a decision while the kitchen was getting ready, which is still not quite ready yet, while the kitchen was getting ready to, rather than providing nothing, provide some kind of meal. So that's why the cold meal was provided there. But every place else it is a hot meal. And as soon as the kitchen's ready, which I think will be very soon, they'll provide the same meals there as well.
And it'll be uniform.
Correct.
Okay.
That is correct.
Okay, Mr. Palavecchio?
No questions.
Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Freeholders? Resolution number 16. Freeholder Cooper.
Actually, just a quick comment. I want to commend the county for their Senior Wellness Day yesterday. It was fantastic. It was a really lovely event, a great place to collect information and get services for older adults populations. My seniors were ranting and raving about how much they loved the day, how well everything was coordinated. It was really nice.
Thank you, Freeholder, and it's really a tribute to Anthony Puglisi in Executive's office, as well as Dan Savanti and his team. They do a great job. Thank you.
Freeholders? Have a mover?
Move it.
Moved by Freeholder Graham.
Second.
Second by Freeholder Palmaris. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano, absent. Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to resolutions number 17 through 22, which we can read into the record at a later time. Mr. Jackson.
Mr. President, item 17 is essentially allowing the county to the prosecutor's office to participate in the Helping Hands outreach program, which is designed to arrange treatment in lieu of incarceration for appropriate individuals, along with some discretionary prosecutorial outcomes. These are individuals who are opioid dependent and subject to criminal arrest as a result of that opioid use. It involves some community education component, video presentations on treatment and justice options, and this will cover salary and fringe and overtime, and it's no match required. It's in the amount of $100,000, and item 18 is simply the budget insertion for that item.
Thank you, Mr. Palavecchio.
No questions.
Mr. McInerney.
No questions.
Freeholders, questions or comments on 17 and 18? Vice President Richardson.
To you, Mr. President, how are the participants determined?
It's basically run through, Mr. Vice President, through the prosecutor's office, and it's really based on what the court and the prosecutors feel are individuals who can benefit from not being incarcerated. It's more of a court prosecutor call than a programmatic, like a call. It's really based on what the judge and the prosecutors feel are individuals who would benefit. So it's not, what I'm saying, it's not like, for example, some programs we have where it's like income-based or something like that. It's really based on the history of the individuals and whether they think it's appropriate for those individuals. I can get you more specific, if I can get perhaps more specific information from the prosecutor's office, if that might be helpful.
I appreciate that.
Sure.
I'd really like to know how they determine who goes to jail and who gets treatment.
Yep, I will do that.
Freeholder Cooper.
Thank you. Can you add a question to that for me as well? I was curious when reading this. Will the people who successfully complete the program, whatever charge that brought them to court, will it be expunged?
I do not know that. I will find that out as well, Freeholder.
Thank you.
Have a mover?
I'll move, Mr.
Moved by
President.
Freeholder Palmaris.
Second.
Second by Vice President Richardson. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano, absent. Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes, that was resolution 17 and 18.
Yes.
Moving to resolution number 19.
19 is also approving participation in a state program administered by the Office of the Attorney General through the Prosecutor's Office. This is for the Office of Witness and Victim Advocacy. It will provide support for salary and fringe benefits. It requires an in-kind match of $301,389. As a result of two programs that were part of this before, Victim and Crime Awareness Assistance Grant and a Violence Against Women Grant, those two grants were separate last year. They're combined, and as a result of that and the way the formula works, we're able to take our in-kind match and leverage that to get more funds. So last year we got $850,000. This year we're going to get $1.2 million to provide for the same support. So it's quite a substantial increase in providing more services for this group of residents who are in dire need of the support. And again, 20 is just the budget insertion of these dollars.
Mr. Pavlicchio?
No question.
Mr. Jackson? Excuse me, Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Freeholders?
Motion.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion from Freeholder Cooper for Resolution 19 and 20. Second from Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson. Freeholder Luciano, absent. Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Moving to Resolution number 22. Yes, to 21,
21.
which I guess
This
we'll take
is-
21 and 22 together.
Yes, these are also connected, Mr. President. 21 is again proving participation with another state program through the Prosecutor's Office. This is going to support the operation of the response team, an examination program for sexual assault victims. There's some professional development of participating nurse examiners, and it'll expand our services to hospital sites, particularly for pediatric victims. There's an in-kind match of $27,912, which will be met by salary and wages. Last year we got $107,000. This year we'll get almost $112,000. And item 22 is the budget insertion for that.
Thank you. Mr. Parlavecchio.
No questions.
Mr. McInerney.
No questions.
Freeholders?
I'll move, Mr. President.
Moved by Freeholder
Second.
Ramirez, second by Freeholder Mercado. We are taking 21 and 22 together. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano, absent. Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to Resolution number 23, which we can read into the record at a later time. Mr. Jackson.
Mr. President, I'm doing this one. Julius Coltree, Deputy Administrator. This is a state contract to Atlantic Tactical for $7,437 for the sheriff. It's for Winchester ammunition for the range and regular duty operations. It also complies with ammunition ordinance that the freeholders have.
Thank you. Mr. Parlavecchio.
No questions.
Mr. Jackson. Excuse me, Mr. McInerney.
No questions.
It's getting late in the evening.
Yeah, it's true.
Well, they look alike.
It happens a lot.
Well, it might be wishful thinking. It might be wishful thinking to start that next agenda item even quicker. Freeholders.
And move it.
Second.
Moved by Freeholder Mercado, second by Freeholder Pomares. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano, absent. Freeholder Johnson. Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay. Moving to Resolution number 24, which we can read into the record at a later time.
Mr. President, this is to Extel Communication for wiring and cable at 321 University in the amount of $135,154. It's part of a state contract, and they will be wiring for the building down at that location for DFAP.
Okay. Mr. Parlavecchio?
No questions.
Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Freeholders?
Move it.
Moved by Vice President Richardson, second by Freeholder Graham. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano, absent. Freeholder Ricardo.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Sebald.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Moving to resolution number 25, which will be read into the record at a later time.
This is Mr. President, this is an extension, 3-month extension to LA parking from October 1st, 2019 to December 31st, 2019 also. The contract ends at that particular time, and we'll be either negotiating, or if they do not want to continue dealing with us. It's a court order for 52 spaces at University Avenue. And the monthly amount is $10,700. Total amount, $31,200.
Okay, Mr. Parlavecchio.
I do have a question. Mr. Coltry, if they don't want to negotiate, is there a plan B for parking those ordered
We'll be out
spots?
on the street looking for additional spots from other parking providers.
Better approve a bunch of quarters.
Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Freeholders? Vice President?
Yeah, so you have no backup. So is there a time limit when they're supposed to let you know? When do you start negotiating?
Well, we'll start immediately because we have a 3-month window to see how they want to proceed. We also may go back into negotiating at the similar rate because we do also have a 30-day window cancellation on both sides. So they may also give us another year on the lease. However, if they sell the property or do something else with us, we'll have a 30-day window. And we are building our 900-spot parking deck.
But it won't be ready by December.
Correct.
You never know.
Could be.
Good.
I'll move it.
Moved by Freeholder Mercado, second by Freeholder Graham. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano, absent. Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Sebald.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to resolutions number 26. Can read into the record at a later time.
County Council Gassion is here.
Good evening, Courtney Gassione, Essex County Council. Mr. President, resolution number 26 is a request from the Office of County Council for the approval of a professional services agreement to provide legal services in the matter of Duraco versus County of Essex. The county is seeking to retain the firm of Walsh, Pizzey, and O'Reilly and Kalanga in an amount not to exceed $50,000. This contract would bring us to the end of the calendar year, December 31st. 2019. This is a retaliation claim that was brought against the County of Essex, specifically the prosecutor's office, by a prosecutor working in their investigative division.
Okay, Mr. Parlavecchio.
Yes, thank you. Is the county the only defendant in this one?
The County of Essex is the only defendant. There are no individually named defendants. However, the reason that the county counsel's office is seeking this outside counsel contract is because there's a conflict of interest that was identified in the complaint that was filed by the plaintiff.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. McInerney.
We discussed this at the leadership meeting, so I have all the information I need.
Okay, thank you. Freeholders.
Move it. Second.
Moved by Freeholder Mercado, second by Freeholder Pomares. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Sebald.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano, absent Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay. Moving to resolution number 27, which can read into the record at a later time. Mr. Jackson?
Mr. Coultry, Mr. President, this is a non-fair and open with Especolas Acres for non-perishable, for perishable food and substance supply in the amount of $75,000. Approximately 3,000 bags of fruit, 3,000 bags of vegetables, and miscellaneous produce, which was, I would say, mostly given out yesterday at our Senior Wellness Day. So, and that being said, most of the food hopefully is being eaten within the next few days, so it doesn't go bad. The amount is $75,000 for a 12-month period, just in case there's other items that we would have to buy.
Okay. Very good. Mr. Parlavecchio?
No questions.
Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Freeholders? Freeholder Cooper?
Thank you. Real quick point, on the second page of the, under the resolve, the first resolve, number 1, had the $25,000 in it. Am I misreading? You see it?
We don't have what you're looking at.
Can you ask the question again, Freeholder?
It says $25,000 in another part of the resolution. Am I misreading it? It is kind of late for me right now.
I'm trying to pull it up so I can see it. In the body of the resolution itself?
Yes, on the second page, it's the resolved part, number 1, after resolved. It says,
Not to exceed 25.
yeah, not to exceed 25,000.
It should have said 75,000.
I think it's a
It has
typo
to be
that
a
will need to
typo.
be corrected, yeah.
All right, thank you.
Good catch, Freeholder.
She's not so tired, I don't think. She's still catching it.
She's on
So we'll correct it. Okay.
It's
So just put it on the record.
75,000.
Okay.
Yes.
So is it accurate on the, maybe that Alan, is it accurate in the documentation? Or Mr. Counsel, do we need to do anything?
No, it's
Okay.
on the record correctly. It
Okay.
just needs to be
Okay.
amended. Yeah.
Very good. Additional questions or comments?
Motion. Second.
Moved by Freeholder Cooper, second by Freeholder Graham. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Ricardo.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano, absent Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Sebold. Yes. Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
We'll move to resolution number 65, which we can read into the record at a later time.
Did we miss one?
Mr. Jackson.
Oh, yes. I apologize, Mr. President. This is from the Board of Elections. It's a contract to award Grand Rental Station from Bloomfield to provide rental tables and chairs for the polling places. It's exercising a 24-month contract extension in an amount not to exceed $125,000.
Parlavecchio?
No questions.
Mr. McInerney?
Does this cover all elections?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Freeholders, resolution 65, questions or comments?
Move it.
Moved by Freeholder Pomares, second by Freeholder Mercado. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Sebold.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Ricardo.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano, absent Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to resolution 28 through 56. So I have a mover, moved by Freeholder Cooper, second by Vice President Richardson. Roll call, Madam Clerk. We'll read it into the record at a later time.
Okay, and, Mr. President, I missed the mover in a second.
The mover was Freeholder Cooper, the second was Vice President Richardson.
Thank you. Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano, absent Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Sebo. Yes. Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to reports of board committees. Legislative reports, written communication, unfinished business, new business, public comment. If there's any member of the public who would like to comment on any matter, please come to the microphone, state your name and affiliation for the record, and you will have 3 minutes to speak. Okay, Madam Clerk, let the record reflect that there's no one wishing to speak at this time. Freeholders, do you have any comments that you would like to make? Freeholder Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. President. One quick question. On this voter machine demonstration on the 30th, it says join us for opportunity to see and vote. Is the vote taking place at this demonstration or whole separate different time?
It's a question for the administration.
Freeholder, no, you'll be able to practice voting, if you will. It's not an official vote, but you'll be able to see how a vote works. There will be 3 providers there. Each one will have the computer, the Dominion ES&S Heart. Each one will have a touchscreen one, and each one will have the paper ballot, so you'll be able to see for each manufacturer each of those types of machines. In November of this year, we'll have a pilot program in the same 2 districts in Montclair for the paper ballots that were done for the touchscreens back in November of 2018. So we're able to see how those work. And then following that, I think we'll be able to make a decision, well, not we, but the election folks will be able to make a decision on what type of machine to go with. And then my understanding is that the manufacturers have indicated that if we move fairly quickly, that we'll be in place to have new machines for certainly, perhaps for the primary for some places, but maybe everybody, but certainly by November to have new voting machines for countywide.
Thank you.
Freeholder Siebel?
Thank you. But I understand that program at the Leroy Smith Building on the 14th floor is going to take place most of the day. So
Yes.
my question is, what time is a good time to go there?
Whatever time your schedule allows, Freeholder.
Doesn't matter?
No.
Well, it's going on all day, and I
correct.
just wondered when was the best time for...
They'll be there to answer your questions, and you can...
All day long.
All day
So
long.
there's not a demonstration at a particular
That is
time
correct.
that I have to be there for?
That is
Doesn't
correct.
matter.
That is correct.
Okay.
It's 5 minutes to 10.
Mr. President, can we reiterate the time for that? I'm sorry, because I just...
Okay, let me just...
It's on this Monday, upcoming Monday, correct?
It's the 30th. I just want to double check the time.
I think it's 10.
10 was an end.
10 to 2, something like that.
10 to 2.
Yes, 10 to 2.
2
10 to 2.
So you can go at
Thank
any
you.
time.
Correct.
And that's at the Sheila Oliver Room?
That's correct,
Thank
Freeholder.
you.
And I have another question. All of these people who came before us tonight about the voting machines, how do we get them informed what's going on?
Well, some of them have been invited to the exhibit.
Soma from
Mhm.
Maplewood South Orange,
Mhm.
and they were questioning it tonight.
I can't. One said that they were happy that they had been invited. I don't think it was Mr. Harris. I think it was the person in front of the other co-chair. Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Because they should know about it, so they can...
They do. They'll be there.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, they were both, we did include their names and some other names to the administration. The administration did follow up, so thank you for that. So they were invited, and a few other groups were invited too, and there's still enough time. I think, this is not a public, meeting. It's an invitation meeting, but I think if freeholders have additional names, I'm sure the administration won't speak, but I think would consider entertaining, making some additional invitations.
I just feel it's important to say on the record, Mr. President, though, that the selection and the operation of the election machines and the process is
Yep.
really with the clerk and the superintendent.
Correct.
And it's not
the
the administration or the freeholder board.
Absolutely.
We're the politics side of it is separate, and
Yep.
this is separate entities that are making these decisions, not.
Correct.
Do they understand that?
I'm pretty sure they do, but if they're not, but I think that's important for them to,
Yeah, 'cause
everybody to
I
understand, this
don't
is
know if
not
they
a,
understand that that's how the situation
those folks
Yeah.
are assigned with that
Yeah.
responsibility.
Well, no, I can appreciate that, but absolutely, they also understand that we'll vote on the contract.
Correct.
So, and that we're still elected we on this side are still elected advocates they're in the right place.
Correct, that's
Yeah.
correct. I think
So-
sometimes there's a misperception that the
That
freeholder
really-
board and the administration are
Right.
in there, working on what machines and what
Correct.
those, and that's really the professionals doing that.
We're waiting
and
on
they're
those
coming to us for
recommendations.
recommendations,
Correct.
yes.
Correct. Absolutely. Fair enough.
Through
the
you,
President.
Mr. President.
Yes.
I'm sorry, go ahead. So, yeah, on the machine, so the, Commissioner Bow and her group are gonna be the ones who select the machine.
They will make a
They will
recommendation,
make a recommendations to this board,
correct. As well as Linda Von Essen.
right? Okay. But they won't issue, they're gonna issue a contract to come before us, or they're gonna make a recommendation to us before they actually send something out to bid?
It's exempt, so it really doesn't have to be a bid, it's exempt, but they'll make a recommendation. I think the way it should work is they'll make a recommendation, perhaps meet with the subcommittee of this board, and then that will make it then the recommendation to the full board and for a contract and to move ahead.
Get that? Thank you, Mr. Jackson. I mean, there's, I think, that's helpful in the clarification of process, and they will, and when those recommendations are made to the board, the professionals that had to make that recommendation will have to explain, part of their explanation will be after the part of the process of what kind of input. I think, Mr. Vice President, too, is what kind of input they took is, or had to take is up to them. So, I think we're actually going a step further and actually having people participate in this process.
That's
So
correct, Mr.
We're
President.
doing something that's not, required under the law. It's that we want it, my hope is that it'll be as transparent as possible, but the process itself, when we do make the recommendation, they will have to defend that process and how they got here, so.
Mr. President, I just
Sure.
want to make two comments. One, I want to, for the record, I want to thank Madam Clerk and her staff for the work that they put into this evening's event. I thought it was a very successful event, well attended, and a lot of work went into it. And prior to that, there were a series of parades in Newark. There was Dominican Parade, the Puerto Rican Day Parade, and there was a lot of commendations that were sent to them, and the clerk's office worked tirelessly to get those things done. So I want to, thank them for their effort, the whole team. Secondly, I want to talk about the public comment section. As we've witnessed, the conduct of folks during public comment has deteriorated to the extent that we saw today. And there was a time when public comment, we had two public comments. The first one was on agenda items, and the second one was on public. And I want us to really seriously consider going back to having public comment on agenda items first, so that we can then take care of the county's business, and then allow the public to comment on whatever they want to comment at the end. I think having the county administration and staff sit and wait through that section is, I think it's not fair to them. I think we ought to give consideration to the county and do the county's business before we allow for the type of behavior that we've been witnessing.
Bill Johnson.
Yes. Through you, Mr. President. And if we look into the county code says the first session is for items on the agenda. And then at the end of all of that, that's when they come up with the public comment section, which is at the end of, near the end of the meeting. So if we look into the county code, that's the county code, you'll see that.
Freeholder Siebel.
I agree totally. I believe agenda items should be at the beginning of the meeting and public comment should be at the end of the meeting. For us to have to sit through what we did tonight is wrong. It's wrong for the public, it's wrong for us, and we shouldn't have to do that at every meeting. And the public comment should be at the end of the meeting, and the agenda item should be at the beginning of the meeting if we're going to have a respected meeting for us and for everybody else.
Okay. Freeholders.
I'm going to chime in and agree. I echo your sentiments. We are elected to manage the people's business, and I think we should deal with the people's business first. And I think it's important for us to hear comments from the public related to the agenda items first. We're not trying to stifle anyone from having their First Amendment rights. I just think I agree that it should be shifted to the end. The second thing I think we need to do a different kind of job at enforcing some more decorum and respect here. We listen to comments whether we agree or disagree with them, but we were always very respectful of anybody who comes to the rail. And tonight, and not just tonight, in prior meetings as well, their behavior and conduct has become disruptive. There's a different way to go about getting some things that you want. I'm all for marching and sitting in and doing all those kinds of things, but it still should be professional and respectful. And I don't think the display that we're seeing lately, it's not that anymore.
So what do you suggest we do, Freeholder?
So I want to move that the public comment section be on agenda items only, and then the second public comment come at the end of the meeting.
So,
But that's part of the agenda. Do we do that?
so I mean, I think, so a couple of things. I mean, in terms of the decorum, I mean, so I have to respectfully disagree. I mean, I think that so I totally disagree. So with that comment, I think that as long as people have a right to be heard, they have a right to say whatever they want, whether you like it or not. I want to compliment our staff, our sheriff's officers, who I thought handled that incident tonight with grace, dignity, and totally appropriately. I don't think the meeting was actually delayed. That is part of being a public and elected official. In terms of if we'd like to look into options, as long as I've been on the board, that's the way it's been set up. So I'm open, so I will ask the council to give us a recommendation on what our options are for both public comment. I am sympathetic to having our staff have to wait for long periods of time because for specific agenda items. What people come here to speak about is the people's business, whether it's on the agenda or not. It's and much of what we're hearing, it has to do with something that very much has to do with county business. So I'd like to take that under advisement. I'd like to have our council clarify for me under the code what our options are. I'm not opposed to going back to, if there was a period in time where we could have the first public comment be just on agenda items and the last one to be on anything at all. We actually tried to combine them, as you know, and went back, right? Because there was an outcry on it, but I don't have any issue there. Freeholder Siebel.
I have to disagree. I've been on this Freeholder board for 25 years. The items at the beginning were open to discussion if they were on the agenda. If they wanted to speak about any item, it was at the end of the meeting. It's only been the past few years that it has changed. And I think the way it's conducted now is very disrespectful to us, disrespectful to the public, and to have to go through excuse me, and to, wait a second, and to have to go through
what I said
we
is, I
did
didn't make that
tonight.
change, I didn't make that change, and what I'm saying is, I didn't make that change, and what I'm saying is, if we want to do whatever's allowed under the code, I'm open to
But
it.
it always was the other way.
Well, at some point it changed,
Yeah,
so,
it did.
that's my point, I don't have any issue. There's no issue. So, if we want to make it the way that whether it was or it wasn't,
It
what
was
I'm-
for 20 years.
so then
23 years.
it didn't get changed in the last 2 years, is what I'm saying to you. So,
It did.
no, it didn't. And I mean, but it does, again, we can argue about whether it did or didn't, or we can address going forward. And going forward, what I'm saying is, yes, we'll get a memo to the board from about what the options are, and if that's our option, and we can do that under the code, and we can look back of how we've had it in the past too, to help make that decision.
So I would like, Michael, hopefully whatever research you're doing is going to be circulated among all of the freeholders for us to see whatever the code says and whatever your recommendations are per the law. And in my opinion, going back, and I'm not looking to debate anything, for anybody having the right to speak and say whatever it is that they want to say during the public comment section. But once we move away from that section and we move on to the business that's before us for the evening, for them to be disruptive the way they were tonight, my heart was beating out my chest because I really thought something had happened, the way that they had yelled out.
They were removed from the meeting, Freeholder. What
They
more
were.
were we gonna do?
Freeholder President, respectfully, when you were speaking, I'll let you make your comments. I didn't interrupt you. I'm asking for the same courtesy as well.
Okay.
We had started on our agenda item. We were into our agenda. Go back and look at the record. We were into our agenda items. I believe a staff person, Mr. Sanjeev, was speaking, and then they erupted in whatever they were
Correct.
chanting, whatever it is that they were
Correct.
doing.
Correct.
And for me, that's the part that's disrespectful and it's disruptive. Whatever you want to do during the public comment section, it's public comment for a reason.
Agreed. They
But
were
when we
removed
start to
from the
move to our
meeting.
business,
But they were removed from the meeting.
they were removed from the meeting.
What-
And again,
what
it
could we have done
interrupted our
to
meeting,
prevent
whether
that?
it's a minute or 30 seconds. In my humble opinion, it's still disrespectful. Because while they were speaking, none of us on this side of the rail interrupted anything that they said.
I
We
agree.
didn't disagree with anything that they wanted to do.
Understand? No. You're missing my point. No one is saying that that wasn't disrespectful. No one said that that wasn't disrespectful. What I'm saying is there was an outburst during the regular course of business. They were removed immediately. What more are we to do? You're right. That was disrespectful. Is there some type of action that could have been taken to prevent that?
You disagreed and said that you did not think it was disrespectful.
No.
that they have a
I
right
thought
to
you meant during
peacefully-
public comment period, not the
Oh, yeah,
incident
during the public comment?
Yeah, not during the, no, let me be clear. Not during the regular order of business. When we were into agenda items, that is disrespectful. I thought you meant that I thought you were referring to comments that were made during public comment session, and
Yeah, those were not my comments, so let me clarify.
Yeah.
My response, my statements about it being disrespectful is when they interrupted us after we started our
Agreed.
meeting
Totally
and moved
agree.
away from the public comment section.
Totally agree.
They have a right, just the way I have, they have a right to say what they want to say, I have a right
Correct.
to say what I want to say.
Correct.
But once the meeting start, they should hold their comments to themselves, or either wait to the end of the meeting to say whatever else that they want to say.
No disagreement. That's why I want to commend our officers again, who moved them out in an orderly and timely fashion, so thank you. Additional questions or comments? No. Good? And that absolutely will be distributed to the entire board. So Madam Clerk, when the council's done with that, distribute that to the entire board. Just one final comment. The meeting, just to make note, make sure everyone saw it, our next meeting is not until October 23rd. So our meeting that was scheduled for, I believe, October 2nd?
Yes, that's the one that's canceled.
Has now been removed since we were able to tackle all of those agenda items tonight that we discussed in the last leadership meeting. So I want to thank the administration for getting those and making that happen from Monday to today, and for that extra work to make it happen. So thank you.
And the next meeting is October.
And then the meeting on the 23rd.
Mhm.
Okay. We have a motion to adjourn?
So
All right.
Second.